Hello again, Mavericks, and welcome out to another market roundup. Let's begin a market coverage. It's a Monday, April the 25th. We're in this final stretch of this trading month. So let's talk about markets. Let's take a look at how things unfolded today and see how the currency room outlook, if we need to make any adjustments to it. So let's start with our quick market analysis and see how markets performed today, and then take a look at some some currency picks later on. So starting with the market price action today, this was a bit of a reversal, and as you can see, we went in with a lot more of that bearish outlook because we closed at the lows of the day on Friday. So overnight, we did see market were underperforming. The markets were a lot more red. But then today, markets were able to put a bit of a shorter-term reversal. So this price action is definitely not a surprise. We are seeing this markets to continue to go back and forth. One of the things we do notice here is that we are still below the 20 and 50 moving average. But this is where sideways price action, we are not really ready to start a trend yet. But the price action got close a little bit to the bottom that we saw in March, but then here we are trying to bounce a little bit here. So the outlook was a lot more bearish at the start of the day, but now as we are towards the end of the day, it looks a little bit better. So it seems like the next overnight session to tomorrow, we'll probably see a risk-on environment, but then again, tomorrow will be another battle and see if the market reverse today's gains or do they rally further from here. So this is a market I think it's going to continue to flip back and forth. And as a trader, you just need to stay on the guard there, and then take a look at markets on a day-to-day basis. Not a whole lot of trends that we can find, compared to last year when we just didn't even see a pullback, and markets were just kept pushing higher and higher. And if you take a look at the crypto world, seeing the exact same thing. Starting February, I mean, we can see the markets, the crypto market hasn't gone anywhere. There has been some phenomenal weeks in between, some great days in between, but overall, trend-wise, this thing has not really moved whole lot. Which is again very similar to what we are seeing in the equity markets as well. Now, looking at today's price action was a little bit encouraging because it came right off the support that we have right here, and notice that last time we got that big reversal here, had some follow through. At this point, nice reversal, and it seems like this could easily have a follow through up to the resistance point. Remember, in a range bound price action, you bounce back and forth between support and resistance. So this is exactly what we're seeing here. So the world markets did underperform a little bit today, but I would expect them to catch up overnight and tomorrow. So the crypto world was good. Gold was down 1.63%, and oil was also down 2.62%. So quite dramatic day, risk off to a risk on, and that's kind of market environment that we are seeing in the past few days and weeks. So as far as the outlook goes, since we are below the moving averages, I think we still want to be below or stay -1. But at the same time, notice that maybe in the short term, the momentum is shifting a little bit to the upside. Would it have any follow through? We'll have to wait till tomorrow. But meanwhile, from the next few hours to overnight and tomorrow, it seems like there could be a little bit more of a risk on rally. Now, schedule wise, since we are the last end of this week of this month, we would probably have less of the economic events to take a look at. But starting next week, as we go back to the beginning of the month, that's where we start to see a bit of more fireworks on the schedule. But so far, we have the Aussie CPI that's due on Tuesday. And again, we know CPI that's running hot across the world. So not really expecting any sort of fireworks off of this schedule this week. Again, we have the GDP figures on Thursday from the U.S. I think the PCE price index will be important on Friday. So it seems like the second half this week probably be a little bit more active week. But starting off this week, we'll be more relying on the market sentiment as the risk on and risk off goes. So let's do a quick currency analysis and see what's happening in the cryptocurrency world and the foreign currency world. So cryptocurrency world, you can see Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum actually was the best performer. So this is again very encouraging moves because some of these cryptocurrencies has been lagging for the past couple of weeks. So these momentum are shifting in the short term back and forth. Outside of that, Litecoin didn't really do much. Solana was up. So notice that the money actually did go into some of these main players in the crypto world, as the Bitcoin and Ethereum really charges higher. So outside of that, not a whole lot. But I think this is where we're probably seeing some more buying pressure come in the next 24 to 48 hours. Now, within the currency world, we did notice that surprisingly, we actually have the yen finally trying to mark a little bit short-term bottom. I know this is the currency that a lot of traders have taken advantage of, but at this point, question comes: is the yen trying to put a shorter-term bottom? So we'll take a look at the charts. Outside of that, dollar is still doing well, up 0.38%. Swiss franc was slightly up, and we saw gains in euro last week, and seems like it started off with a negative note. Pound continues to be weaker, and in the growth currency basket, as you can see, it was a bit of a mixed bag. Aussie was the weakest, and then CAD was actually strong, followed by the Kiwi. So today, price action, most of the price action was really in these yen crosses. So if you compare the yen against the Aussie, I mean, at one point it was down more than 2%. Those are good percentage moves. So percentage-wise, this was a good day, good start of the week, but you have to be in the right currency. And this is where your velocity score and the trend score come in play, because you try to go for what's moving out there, and that's really our focus. Now, looking at the velocity scores, we haven't really seen the yen actually doing back-to-back. Again, Friday was a bit of a stronger day on yen, and then here we are putting a +3. So I think what we need to do is take a look at yen and see what the short-term outlook is. Outside of that, dollar is still holding strong here. And remember, the FOMC is supposed to meet in a week or so, and they're expected to raise rates. So I'm expecting dollar to still perform well, and this is where we get that run up into the price action, into the news event. So we could see a bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news, because then the price action get priced in. So we'll have to probably dollar stay strong. Some of the cryptocurrencies are also doing well, so I think that's where we could see some sort of shorter term price action to the upside. Not really as interested in the Litecoin. And then look at that, 3 currencies right in the middle: Kiwi, Swiss franc, and CAD. So when the velocity gets scored 0, meaning they're not really ready to trade. So maybe they're just taking a short-term pause. We still like CAD to the upside, but this is not the right time to jump on this. So today, the Aussie was really the weakest, and that's where the real opportunity was. Outside of that, euro was weak and the pound was weak. So handful of currencies making a good move today. So let's talk about possible trades in the next 24 hours. Should we expect a follow through, or do we expect a bit of a turnaround? So let's just start with the Japanese yen. And this is a chart that I want to point out, because we have been on this tear in this Japanese yen for almost most part of month and a half. And again, this was more like a historic move in the Japanese yen, because usually currencies don't move as much. This again, Bank of Japan is behind some of that move. But if you just go back in time, this really reminded me, last time we saw yen go crazy like that was back in 2016. As you can see, what happened in 2016, the yen was a bit of in an uptrend. But I mean, take a look at 2016 towards right after the election. This thing almost went down. Let's take a look at the percentage wise. We went down from almost 10% in just 2 months, a month and a half. So these moves could provide a lot of opportunity, but then they are also very much one-sided. So you only play it onto the short side. And then you have to pay attention to see how this came to an end. So notice that we didn't see a big V-shaped recovery. We actually did go lower, and we started to go sideways for the most part of 3 months before actually broke out higher. So this is where, if you zoom into the chart right now, it would look very similar, because we got that big move here. So now, what do we expect? I think we have to scale back on that bearishness that we have seen, because price action looks very extended. At the same point, I think there could be some opportunities back and forth, which means that there could be opportunities for a couple of days here, a couple of days there, and might not be as bearish as we have been. So if you're really looking back at it, just take a look at those charts from 2016. Price action looks very similar. So on a daily chart, this thing has now tested the 20-day moving average. So on a daily chart, you can see that this could be a bear rally. But then if I go on a shorter term chart, like a 4 hour chart, what it is telling me is that it's actually making a reversal on a 4 hour chart. So we did break out above it. Now we are pulling back. And again, this is where it's a big test. Do we go all the way back down, or do we test, stay above this moving averages, and then turn around? So this is where this is an initial move, which could not have a follow through. But if it does pull back and then go above a previous level, this is where we'll probably see a much bigger move come through. So definitely we want to be scaling back on the yen weakness, but at the same time, just take a look at it from shorter term perspective, see where the opportunity is. But the biggest thing to pay attention to is the regime change. This is the market regime. We have been on this downside for this longer period of time. Is this regime coming to an end? And if it is, this is where I got to make a change. So a lot of these currency crosses were sitting at extreme stretched levels, and you can see how quickly it deflated. Aussie yen, I mean, it was at 95 just a few days ago, and now it's down to 91, 97. Great opportunities. Again, this is where money is to be made on both sides of this chart. Now you can see that we actually broken below this moving average here. I would actually love to see a bit of a bear rally, and if that bear rally turns lower, then that's when the market is turning into changing that trend. So before we were making a higher lows, what we need to establish here is a lower high, then make a lower low. Then that's when it's changing a little bit here. Or it could go sideways where it established a low and a high and it just goes back and forth. I'm actually just picking more of the middle here. See if this goes back and forth. I think we'll probably see that kind of price action before we try to figure out where the Japanese yen wants to go. But in the shorter term, if I take a look at 4 hour chart, I mean, very nice little pullback here at this point. I think it needs to rally a little bit. And after that rally, we'll have to see which way it goes. It could rally all the way back up, or it could have just establish a lower high and then a lower low. For that, we have to wait and see. Dollar yen was the one that a lot of traders I know have been watching. This thing has been more insulated based on the moves that we saw across the board. The dollar actually was not as weak, it actually was strong. And this is where, taking a look at the dollar basket, you can see that the dollar basket is still holding well. And my premise is really that we probably still hold on to the strength until the FOMC statement. And after the rate hike, we could see a bit of a selling on the news. So we'll have to wait and watch for that one. But shorter term, it's making a consolidation pattern. So no need to be shorting the dollar at this point. So opportunities are outside of those two. Again, we saw some good opportunities in currency pairs like Aussie Kiwi. Again, a notable pullback because you can see it almost hit that level, that 110 that we have seen it before. That level took place back in 2020. Here we are. Now we got a nice little pullback off of that. So could we see further weakness in those two currencies? Well, I think that's where in the next 20 to 48 hours, we'll probably get a better idea. So the opportunity wise, should we go with the dollar? Should we go with the yen? Or should we look at elsewhere? Well, another thing to take a look at is euro. And I actually start to like euro until we saw the price action today. And this is, again, going back to a range-bound price action where you have established a high, you have a low there, and the price action constantly going to go back and forth. So as we take a look at this one, we can possibly take a look at euro against other currencies as well. The Canadian dollar is still holding well, so I think the CAD likely to outperform. And this again goes back to some of the currency picks that we looked at in the currency room. Aussie CAD has been on the short list, and you can see that this thing continues to move really well in a direction. At this point, it looks like it's trying to find a little short-term bottom with the market reversal today. We'll probably see this hold a little bit better, but it's not ready to pull the trigger yet. It's still a 4 hour chart. I would love to see a base a little bit or a bear rally to jump into. If we take a look at the daily chart, where is the further downside? I think it can easily get back to that 89.60 level, but in between we'll probably see some pauses as well. So it's important to establish what the outlook is before you deploy the strategy on it. We had some other decent moves like dollar CAD. I mean, very impressive move in the past few days. And you can see that it's trying to take a little bit of a short-term pause. So next 24 hours seems a little bit murky. We like the price action, but I think some of these currencies could continue on and or maybe take a shorter term pullback and then continue moving in a certain direction. I mean, dollar Swiss franc is the one that we discussed. This thing wasn't really a big mover today, but I think I still like this onto the upside. Daily chart looks good. 4-hour chart is in a consolidation pattern here, so this could be the next one to move higher. Outside of taking a look at other dollar crosses, I like the dollar Swiss franc here. We can continue to take a look at euro dollar, making a bit of short-term base, and even pound dollar. Pound has been getting hit quite a bit, so you can see the price action looks pretty weak. But look for some bear rallies or bases to short into. So next 24 hours, let's see if the market holds these levels, and that's where we'll be able to decide if there's any sort of legs behind these moves, or is the market just continue to flip-flop. So risk trends are back under pressure. We already have seen that, so pay attention to that one. Dollar long still the play, I think. Dollar long still probably a play until next week. Meanwhile, Aussie has been in the short list here, and Kiwi took a pause here today, but I think overall still is trending lower. So that's the outlook. Till then, see you guys in the next update. Cheers.